So I had a interesting week this past week, and it really prompted me to make this video on my personal channel. I'm not really planning on doing any kind of like particular niche strategy or anything for this channel. I just kind of want it to be a place for me to just share thoughts whenever the mood strikes. And for those who don't know me, I am a creative person. I am an entrepreneur. I am an author. I love anything to do with storytelling. And so most of the businesses that I've worked on have all been related to storytelling in some degree or another. And with one that's done particularly well. And this week, I lost 2 relationships. And it was a very hard thing. But at the same time, I think it was for the best. And I think it was actually a good thing in the long run. Might even be a blessing, depending on how we look at it. So I kind of wanted to break that down for you. So as a little background, I have been trying to lose weight for a long time. All other areas of my life, when I set out to try and improve something or do something or learn something, I can usually do it without any problem. Making money hasn't been that hard for me to do from an entrepreneurial standpoint. But the main thing that I've struggled all my life and continue to struggle with, or at least have continued to struggle with, was my weight. And it seemed like no matter what I did, I could not get my weight to come down. And recently I had a breakthrough where, for the first time that I can remember, I'm having significant success with weight loss and enjoying it at the same time. So those two things rarely go together. I've had success with weight loss before, but I did not enjoy it, and so it didn't continue long enough. And now I'm actually enjoying it. So I'll save for a different video exactly the strategy that I'm using there. But I had this sort of breakthrough. It has to do with embracing my inner child and everything like that. And again, that's a totally separate topic I could probably save for another time. But what it did is it allowed me to start leveling up my life in totally new ways. And I'm starting to see success in my weight loss. And also, around like about this time, there are other things going on at the same time that are requiring me to level up. There's this big challenge I'm trying to do via the school, which is the platform that I use for my main business. And there's this big competition I'm participating in, and that's requiring me to level up professionally and in my entrepreneurship journey. I've also recently connected with a bunch of other, like a mastermind of people who are very similar to myself. And we're all kind of helping each other out. And I felt like that has been pushing me to level up more. And there's just been multiple instances here where I find myself leveling up. And what that has done, I think, is I actually think though that is the reason why I have lost these 2 relationships. So the first relationship I kind of saw coming. It was a person that I used to interact with a lot professionally, and I knew that they were kind of hard to work with, and I kind of really struggled. And honestly, for some reason, which this is another reason why I know I've leveled up, because in the past, if I had lost 2 relationships in the way that this happened to me this past week, it would have devastated me for potentially years to come. Like, it would have been lasting trauma. And now I can kind of take it for what it is, learn the lessons that I need to learn from it, because not everything was out of my, like, I could have probably done better in some cases. There were things I needed to learn from this whole experience, but I can learn those things and then just go with that, you know? And so I know that was a big part of it. So I'm leveling up this. So yeah, getting back to the 2 people. The first one, I used to get so nervous, so upset if I found out she was upset with me. But looking back on it, like, I don't know why I held her in such esteem, because she really did not have a good history of relationships with other people. And the only reason I interacted with her because she was like one of the smartest people in the space that I was in, and it would have been kind of stupid not to. But my business has been thriving where hers has not, and I think this past week I launched a new software tool, and I think that was just sort of the straw on the camel's back. And she sort of broke down and started saying all kinds of nasty things about me online, and in a space where like we really need to be coming together more. And so it was hard, but I kind of knew that one was coming. Also, I didn't have to have any sort of direct interaction with her. I just knew at that point there's not going to be any future to this relationship. So that was relationship number one. The second one, I could have maybe handled a little bit better. So for this one, not to give too many details away, but I was working with a guy and his company, and his company was helping me design some stuff for my business. And I was working in particular with one person on his team. And I pretty much exclusively worked with that person on his team. I wasn't working with anybody else. The founder, the guy who sort of sold me on this, I have great respect for. And he set everything up, but I pretty much never interacted with him after the initial setup, right? And instead, I was interacting with his employee most of the time, and that was going great. I loved working with his employee. I'll admit, there was probably a little voice in my head, a little side thing that told me that I shouldn't be working with the main guy who was the head of the company. There was something there was a little bit of incompatibility there. But I didn't really listen to that. And in a way, that was a good thing because I met his employee, and this employee was excellent, did excellent work. Well, this employee decided to leave the company and told me and asked me if I could continue on to be his client directly. So cutting out the middleman, essentially, the agency owner. And to me at the time, this is where I could have done better. To me at the time, I didn't think twice about it. I was like, absolutely, you were the person I've been working with. You do great work. I want to keep working with you. So I said yes. Where I could have done this better is by saying yes, I was essentially saying yes to something that benefited me and benefited my business at the expense of a partner, with that partner being the agency owner. Now, I don't think this is uncommon, but I still don't think it's the nicest thing in the world. And I would be a little peeved if it happened to me. Anyway, so the owner of this agency called me up and was just like, "Dude, can you meet?" And so and he said it was for offboarding. So I thought, okay, yeah, it seems like the same thing I would do for any high ticket client that came to me and wanted to leave. I'd be like, all right, it's sad to see you go, but yeah, let's get on a call. Let's offboard you. I was expecting maybe a pitch to try and come back and stay with them, but I wasn't expecting much other than that. And turns out, once the call got going, I realized this was not that kind of call, and these guys were very upset that their employee was leaving and taking me with him. And I get it. Like that's not really cool. But there were no contracts in place to forbid a non-compete or something like that. Nothing preventing this from happening. Which I think was an issue potentially on his part. But I get it. Like, it feels like a betrayal. I get that. Totally get it. And this person who I've interacted with frequently and I would have called a friend, and we even met by him inviting me to speak at one of his events. It ended in that call where he made it very clear that if this continued, if I left, I would be essentially ostracized from his business. I would not be allowed to work with him or anyone on his team ever again, not come speak at any of his events or any of that. And that really hurt. That really hurt. I could have said, all right, forget it. I'll stick with you guys. But at this point, I think the damage to that trust was already done, and there's nothing I could do about that. And I just knew that it was probably, I just had to deal with that and continue on. But it really, really hurt because I cared about this guy. Now, it's been a couple of days since that happened, and I realized that this may actually be a blessing in disguise. Part of this came from speaking to another person who knew the agency owner that I was talking about. And speaking to him, some of this became a little bit more clear. Going back to what I was saying about leveling up my life. Every time you level up in life, you're going to lose some people that were attached to the old you. That's just kind of how it goes. I've heard this before, but never really truly experienced it until now. Now, of course, like there have been relationships in my past that I just no longer have that would be tearing me down if I were to still have them, but they didn't really like end abruptly. They just sort of, we just lost track of each other. We just stopped associating with each other over time. That was what I thought that meant, and is what I sort of expected. I did not expect two relationships to just end within days of each other abruptly like this. But I can tell you from knowing both of these people, they are not people that I am that compatible with. They're both great people in their own ways, but I am a very different person from both of them. And I have a feeling that if I were to continue to grow in the way that is right for me, I would continue to be less and less compatible with these two. And so in that sense, these people were, in a sense, the kind of people that would have been holding me back. And as I need to go where I need to go, certain people and also certain behaviors are going to drop off. And that's why I think it's absolutely no coincidence that this sort of happened all within 1 week. And also like the weight loss is also happening in the same, well, it's been happening for a couple of weeks now, but in the same time period, I'm losing weight. My business is growing. I've met some new friends that are much more compatible with where I'm at and who lift me up rather than tear me down. And then these two relationships ended. It was a very painful, but I think necessary part of my journey. So I want to turn this around and maybe offer a word of hope to those of you, like this hope and maybe a warning. This is going to be a painful journey. The process of improving yourself, whether that's in your health or your finances, or if you're a business owner, or even spiritually, mentally, emotionally, that journey is going to have a few bumps in the ride, and not because, and it's not a sign that you should stop. It's not a sign that you're not cut out for this. I might have thought that a few years ago if this had happened to me then. It's a sign that you're growing, and the incompatible parts of you are going to fall off. And that separation can sometimes be extremely painful. So you should expect that. I maybe didn't expect it the way it happened, but I'm glad it happened the way it did. I'm glad that it has happened. I think this is a blessing in disguise. So those are my thoughts for today. Hopefully this is of value to somebody out there. I hope somebody sees this and finds it useful. Once again, I'm not going to be doing this as like a regular for sure thing happening every week or what have you. This is just going to be a way for me to express certain thoughts that don't really fit into the category of whatever other projects I'm working on. Sometimes I just need an outlet to say a few things. but I do think that this channel will sort of center around words of wisdom that I have collected in my own journey, and hopefully helping other people on their own journey, and probably a certain amount of entrepreneurship advice as well as spiritual growth and that kind of thing, because that's very much who I am. So I hope this is useful to some of you. I'll see you later.